Now I know what you're thinking, hold your horses here. Lego, you clickbaited us again. Why did you put that in the title? Why did you put that in the thumbnail? Hey, you know what? The guy actually said it in the article, which is why I wanted to use that phrasing in this video's metadata. But today we're going over onto Sportsnet.ca. Because the most recent piece published by Ian McIntyre happened to be an interview with Vancouver Canucks forward J.T. Miller. If you hadn't been able to tell already, Miller is a very outspoken person, and one of the more better quotes, I guess, one of the better quotes the Vancouver Canucks have had over the past few years. So before we get underway, by the way, link is in the description if you want to go ahead and read what it is Miller says about the turmoil of last season, leaving it behind, and setting his sights on more wins. The article is going to be linked in the description if you want to read this yourself. I wanted to use this video as an opportunity to read the quotes and just go over what Miller's mindset is and what he said about last year. Because last year, I mean, look, I think a lot of us, fans of the team, colloquial people in the hockey world, would use phrases like Miller uses here, but to hear it actually come out of a hockey player's mouth from the team, that's pretty interesting. So before we get underway, I wanted to go over the profile here, just talk about the statistics and everything behind it. Miller is now 30 years old, officially on that $8 million AAV deal. It starts out this year. So right now, 23-24 is year one of JT Miller making $8 million a year till the end of 2030. Man, when you say it like that, it really does sound like a long time, doesn't it? He'll be 37 when the contract is over. Whether or not he'll be an $8 million caliber player at ages 30, 31, 32, 3, 4, etc., that remains to be seen. But for now, JT Miller had 82 points in 81 games last year, which is honestly okay. I mean, the fact that I can say that that number is okay and not amazing is pretty good. Because Miller had 99 points in 21-22, 32 goals, 67 assists. His assist count went down by 17 this previous season. 32 goals again, though. So he's a pretty good, consistent goal scorer. His assist playmaking hopefully takes a step up next year. Hopefully he reaches up to 85, maybe 90 points again. If he's able to be a 90-point player the entire contract that he's on, then that's a pretty good deal, I feel. But for JT Miller, this is a guy who is one of the best players on the Canucks. Just the way he's able to make decisions and his shot and his positioning, it's all very good. He makes a lot of passes that results in goals. He has a lot of assists. And even though he may not have the dynamism that an Elias Pettersson or a Quinn Hughes may have, JT Miller still is a very solid hockey player who has gotten better ever since he was drafted as a New York Rangers guy back in 2011. But with that aside, let's go over onto this Ian McIntyre article and read what it is that he talked about with JT in regards to last season and this season. The center winger feels that his best seasons and his most complete seasons as a player are ahead of him because at age 30, he is still learning about the game and himself. Now pause before we read further. Okay, I hope Miller is able to get better. Like, if he gets a 100-point year, amazing. Miller and Petey, two 100-point scorers on the team. When was the last time the Vancouver Canucks had two 100-point guys at the same time? Oh yeah, right, the Sedins. Not gonna say anything about retired numbers or anything like that, but yeah, that would be pretty good, especially if Miller feels like he has a better season ahead of him. Of course, his most complete season, the way it's defined there. When I think about complete, I think of actually back-checking, I think of not giving up on plays defensively, and actually moving around in your own zone on the penalty kill. How's that? I know Miller had like 9 shorthanded points last year, but still, you kind of get why I'm making those comments, don't you? Miller says, I think I have improved every year, he told Sportsnet during a thoughtful interview on Wednesday. There have been moments that have been testy for sure, and I've touched on those things publicly. But over the grand scheme of things, I'm happy with myself. I still have a ways to go, but I'm a very emotional person. I've come a long way in that department. Maybe not losing my mind and just moving on. Okay, that's good. Hopefully no more banging on the back of your goaltender's net anytime soon, but I get it. Miller's an emotional person. I honestly kind of am the same way, and I think a lot of y'all don't really know that, but yeah, every time you see the outbursts, every time you see the players like swearing, banging their sticks on the ice, banging their sticks on the net, yelling at their goalie to go out, like, it doesn't look good, of course, but I don't know, the human element is there, and it's an element that I feel I can relate to a lot. That's just me personally, but you don't have to agree or disagree. Miller just says that he's been working on that and maybe not losing his mind about this stuff. My whole life, it's been trying to be even keel, more even keel and less volatile. Aside from a couple of news clippings, I've gotten better at that, and I think at times I've shown that I can play against any line in the league, and I take a lot of pride in that. I still want to become one of the top 200-foot players in the league. If you look at the last 4 years since I've been here, it's been crazy. Those aren't normal situations, so I have total trust in myself and faith in myself. Now, is Miller able to be one of the top 200-foot players? I feel like he has this reputation that he's in that category because, he plays in the PK and he's a center and he got 99 points last year. But slowly, there have been more conversations about the lack of effort and the back-checking, especially in overtime. That game against Calgary comes to mind as the really bad one. And then the occasional shift on the PK in the defensive zone where the guy just doesn't move. I don't know. Is it possible for him to become one of the top 200-foot players? It is. He just has to stop giving up on some plays. Regardless, when it comes to the offensive game, Miller has been pretty good, getting all the points and doing all the things that he's good at, coming off a second straight 32-goal campaign for an organization that was, as he aptly described last year, a blank show the first half of the season. And yeah, that's a pretty good way to describe it, talking about the Bruce Boudreau thing and how everything fell apart. The article then talks about how Rick Tocchet came in harmony with GM Patrick Allvin and President Jim Rutherford, and how Tocchet has also coaxed Miller towards being the best version of himself. Everything kind of changed when Rick and his staff got here. It felt good the last 30 games last year as a team. The toxic environment, it changed. All the turmoil seemed to kind of go away, and it was fun again coming to the rink. Now that's the kicker. Toxic environment. He goes out there and blatantly labels how it was when Bruce Boudreau was here, when the team was losing all the games, and how everybody was just in shambles because the Vancouver Canucks sucked so badly. But yeah, the environment was toxic. He goes out there and confirms that. Not that I feel like it's Bruce Boudreau's fault per se. Obviously we know Bruce is a happy-go-lucky guy. His coaching style worked with the Canucks when he was hired in 2022, whatever it was, 2021, excuse me, and we all recognize that there was an element of his personality that was so lovable. It's just the way the team handled the situation, the way the players handled it, their performance on the ice, and the decisions managerially speaking, it was not good, and it was a toxic environment, as Miller points out. We're trying to make the environment different. I guess the thing that stands out is everybody's just a little bit more mature. Everybody's a year older. We went through hell and back, it seems, the last couple of years in this organization, so to be in a spot where we can kind of take a deep breath and learn how to play hockey as a team, I'm not putting a marker on what our season is going to look like, but I just feel like we're a better team now with our additions, and we're better now because we're a year older and a little more mature. Things are changing for the good, and you can feel that around the room. The article then brings up the departure of Bo Horvat, and this is a great opportunity to reignite some of the conversation from last year about there being some sort of a rift in the locker room, the old guys versus the new guys, Bo versus JT. It was a conversation we were having back then. I don't think we're ever gonna know how accurate those things were, but I mean, they were things we talked about. Hopefully one Canuck on the current roster writes a memoir about his time in Vancouver 10, 20 years later, and we end up seeing the truth. Oh yeah, was there a rift between Bo and JT? JT says it's not toxic anymore. Is that because Bo left? Obviously, I'm being dramatic for the sake of being dramatic. Miller also says, towards the end here, that he will happily score less if sacrificing offense for better defending translates to more wins. If I'm playing against the other team's top line every night, and I'm doing my job, the points should come less often. You know what I mean? That's just how it works, and that's okay. Last year, me, Phil, and Besser took a lot of pride in playing against the team's top lines, and we didn't give them a whole lot. Who the hell is Phil? Phil DiGiuseppe? What the heck is he talking about? He then says that he played in New York, and we had a President's Trophy in 2015, and 60 points led the team in scoring. You play the right way, you don't give up as much. Everybody looks better when you're winning. And that's true. Go over to the 14-15 New York Rangers, and the top producing guy was Rick Nash with 69 points. Derek Brassard had 60, Derek Stepan had 55, JT Miller in this season had 23, good for 12th in the team. They won the President's Trophy, and they didn't really do too much production compared to the other players around the league. So Miller does have a point. This is pretty much the last thing I wanted to talk about from this article. He ends up talking about more fans and everything, Quinn being the captain and a few other things regarding just how he wants to be respected as a player, and he treats his teammates like family members. You know, it's a lot of ball busting, but a lot of fun. I also demand a lot out of myself and my teammates. I want to be known as the guy that went to battle for my team every single night. I'm hard on guys and hard on myself. That's just how I am. I wear my heart on my sleeve. And so, when it comes to Miller, this is a great interview. Article's linked in the description if you want to go ahead and read more about it. There's a lot more quotes that we didn't go over. This was a pretty long video, not gonna lie. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How do you feel about Miller and the way that he had talked about last season versus this season? Toxic environment, a blank show. I hope you enjoyed this video. Carlsson 99. And bye.